My parents told me Grandpa passed away disappointed in me. Turns out they faked everything, even his phone number. At the will reading, his lawyer opened a sealed letter that exposed every lie and destroyed their little empire. Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be the guy posting one of these, but here we are. Let's just say my family managed to turn greed into a full-time job, and I ended up being the only one who didn't play along. What started as helping the family turned into lies, forged papers, and a will that changed everything. I walked away once, but when they crossed the line again, I decided to finish what they started. This time, the right way. Eli, 28 male, grew up in one of those families where favoritism wasn't even hidden. It was tradition. My sister Miranda, 29 female, was the future of the family, and I was the background character who existed to make her look good. She could burn toast and they'd call her creative. I could fix the dishwasher, and somehow I was showing off. When I got older and started working, the guilt trips began. My parents had this phrase, for the family. It sounded noble until I realized it meant my paycheck was for their comfort. Eli, your sister's still finding her path. Can you help her with rent? Eli, we're short this month. Can you cover the bills? Eli, we're planning a family trip to Miami. Well, you can't come, but you'll help out, right? I went along with it for a while, mostly out of habit. That's what happens when you grow up trained to earn love. But one night, after my dad told me I owed them for raising me, something in me just shut off. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just looked at him and said, "You're right. I owe you nothing now." Then I packed up, transferred my job to another branch out of state, and disappeared from their lives. Cutting them off wasn't revenge. It was survival. The only people who ever gave a damn about me were my grandparents, George and Darla Dawson. I spent most of my childhood summers at their ranch. Grandpa was a retired engineer who believed anything could be fixed with enough patience and duct tape. He had a workshop behind the barn that looked like a mad scientist's garage, half tools, half chaos. But he called it the George Dawson Innovation Center, completely serious, like it was NASA's backup lab. The projects were wild for an old man with a toolbox. Solar-powered irrigation pumps made from scrap metal, homemade sensors that tracked soil moisture, and some Frankenstein contraption that turned farm waste into fertilizer pellets. He didn't care about money. He cared about ideas that made people's lives easier. As a kid, I'd sit on a stool next to him, sketching designs on scrap paper while he explained things in plain English. "People think farming's luck," he'd say, tightening bolts with those big weathered hands. "It's just engineering with dirt." I was hooked. I started bringing my own little notebooks, tracking rainfall, sketching pump designs, asking stupid questions he somehow always answered like they were genius. Those summers taught me more about problem solving than any degree ever could. One night, I remember we were sitting outside the workshop. The sky was clear, and the air smelled like hay and motor oil. Grandpa was wiping grease off his hands and said, "One day, this'll all be yours. You'll make it bigger, smarter, better." I thought he was joking. I was 15 and had no clue he meant it literally. When I hit my 20s, work took over. I got busy, moved around a lot, and life turned into that routine where you blink and 5 years are gone. I still called the ranch now and then, but after a while the number stopped working. They'd changed the ranch line, and of course nobody told me. I figured maybe they got rid of the landline. I texted my mom asking for Grandma's new number. She replied 3 days later with a message that might as well have been auto-generated. "They're in a care home now. They don't want visitors. You should focus on your own life instead of digging into the past. Also, they're disappointed in you for abandoning the family." No photos, no address, just that. I tried writing letters, mailing small packages, even asking old neighbors if they'd heard anything. Nothing came back. Every dead end made me feel a little more stupid for trying. I'd think about Grandpa sitting at that workbench, explaining something about gears or sunlight, and wonder if he thought I'd just vanished. Months turned into years, and eventually I stopped asking. It wasn't giving up, it was self-defense. You can only bang on a locked door so many times before you start accepting it's not yours to open. Then one afternoon, while I was finishing up a project at work, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Normally, I ignore those, but something made me answer. "Is this Eli Dawson?" a man's voice asked. "Yeah," I said cautiously. "I'm calling regarding George Dawson. I'm sorry to inform you, your grandfather passed away last week." I didn't say anything. I just sat there staring at the wall. The man kept talking. Something about arrangements, a reading, some documents I'd need to sign. But my brain went blank. My first thought wasn't sadness. It was anger. Not at Grandpa. At my parents. Because if what that lawyer was saying was true, It meant they'd lied about everything. They told me he was in a home, that he didn't want to see me, that I was the one who abandoned them. Now he was gone, and I never got the chance to tell him the truth. The call ended with the man giving me an address I knew too well, the ranch. The same place I used to spend entire summers building junk machines with the only person who ever believed in me. For the first time in years, I was going home. The drive to the ranch felt longer than it used to. The ranch looked mostly the same. I parked, sat there for a few seconds, and tried to prepare for whatever was waiting inside. When the door opened, it wasn't warmth that greeted me. It was Grandma's voice. "So you finally showed up." Her tone hit harder than I expected. She looked older, thinner, and sharper all at once. Same gray eyes, but now they carried something heavy behind them. "Hi, Grandma," I said, forcing a small smile. "I came as soon as I heard." She crossed her arms. "You didn't come when he was alive?" That one stung. "I tried," I said quietly. "I called. I texted. I even sent letters. Nobody ever told me what was going on." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me, Eli. George called you every week, and you never answered. That caught me off guard. He called me?" She turned and walked into the living room without waiting for an answer. I followed her. Everything inside looked exactly the same. Same photos, same furniture, but somehow the air felt different. Heavy. She stopped by the old phone table and pulled out a small spiral notepad, its corners bent and yellowed. "This," she said, flipping through the pages, "is the number he dialed every time, until the day he couldn't anymore." I took it from her. The handwriting was definitely Grandpa's. Messy, but confident. But the number? It wasn't mine, not even close. I stared at it for a long second. "This isn't my number," I said. "It never was." Her expression faltered for the first time. "What?" "I've had the same number since high school," I said, pulling out my phone and showing her. "Look, I even texted Mom asking for your contact info. She told me you were both in a care home and didn't want visitors." Grandma's mouth opened slightly, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. She sank into the armchair, still gripping the edge of that notepad like it was proof of something that didn't make sense anymore. "They told us you changed your number," she said finally. "That you said you didn't want to be bothered. That you were ashamed." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was too insane to process. Ashamed? Of who? You and Grandpa were the only people who ever believed in me. Her eyes darted toward the window, lost somewhere between disbelief and anger. "George called you from that phone every week, sometimes twice. When you never answered, he'd sit on the porch and say, maybe you were too busy, that maybe that was a good thing. I told him you'd come when you were ready." I rubbed my face. He died thinking I didn't care. She didn't answer. The silence did all the talking. For a few minutes, neither of us moved. I just stood there, staring at that notepad like it held the whole truth. Somewhere between the fake number and the fake story about the care home, everything clicked. My parents didn't just lie to me, they lied to both sides. They built a wall between us so cleanly that we both thought the other put it up. Grandma finally looked up, her voice steady now. "Who told you about the will reading?" "The lawyer. He called me directly." "Good," she said, setting the notepad down. "Then you'll be here when they show up." I frowned. "Who's they?" "Your parents," she said flatly. "And Miranda." The sound of her name alone made my jaw tighten. "They're coming here?" "They were going to come anyway," she said. "But now I want them here. Every single one of them." I watched her walk to the phone and pick it up. Her hand trembled slightly as she dialed the number, but her voice was strong. "It's me," she said when someone answered. "Yes. Tomorrow at noon. Bring Miranda." She paused. "No, I'm not asking. You'll come." Then she hung up and looked straight at me. "They think they're coming for the will reading," she said. "But they're coming for something else too." I raised an eyebrow. "You're planning something?" "Not planning," she said, her tone cool. "Finishing what they started." I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't need to. Whatever was about to happen, I could tell it was going to burn years of lies right down to the foundation. For the first time since I walked through that door, I saw a glimpse of the old grandma, the one who used to stand beside Grandpa in that workshop, stubborn and sharp. I nodded. "All right," I said quietly. "Let's end this right." She didn't smile, but something in her expression softened just a little. "He would have wanted you here. Tomorrow wasn't just a will reading. It was payback day." I woke up early, before the sun even hit the windows. Grandma was already in the kitchen, making coffee like she hadn't slept either. She looked different today. Colder, sharper, more focused. "Sleep?" I asked. "Didn't try," she said, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. We've got a lot to get through before they show up. We sat at the same table Grandpa and I used to work math problems on when I was 10. No small talk, just facts. They lied for years, Grandma said. They told us you were ashamed of us, that you didn't want to be tied to farm people. I nodded slowly. They told me you were both too sick for visitors. Said you didn't want to see me. Her jaw tightened. Your grandfather stopped eating right around then. He kept saying, he'll come around. He just needs time. I leaned back in my chair. They're professional liars. They probably had a story ready for every question. They did, she said. They told everyone you ran off to chase money. That you said you were embarrassed by your grandfather's small workshop. I laughed, short and dry. Yeah, because God forbid anyone think I admired the only man in this family who actually worked for something. Her eyes softened. I believed them for a while, she admitted. Not because I wanted to, because they made it sound so certain. I didn't blame her. Manipulation was my parents' first language. By noon, the driveway crunched with tires. I looked out the window and saw the same car they used to drive to family dinners I wasn't invited to. Miranda stepped out first. Designer sunglasses, bright red heels, and that permanent look like the world owed her a thank you. My parents followed. Dad still in his expensive casual wear, Mom pretending to look humble. Let them in, Grandma said, voice calm but loaded. The door opened and the air changed instantly. My mom's fake smile appeared like it was rehearsed. Eli, she said, her tone sweet enough to rot teeth. You actually came. Yeah, I said flatly. Miracle, right? Dad gave me a polite nod. Good to see you, son. Can't say the same, I said. Miranda didn't bother pretending. Wow, you look average, she said, scanning me up and down. Guess city life didn't make you rich after all. I smiled. Guess family life didn't make you decent. Her jaw twitched, but she didn't respond. They walked into the living room like they owned the place. Mom sat down first, crossing her legs. It's good you're here, Eli. Today's important. We'll finally get some closure. Closure, I repeated. That what we're calling greed now? Dad ignored that. You know your grandfather's estate is complicated. We've been handling things responsibly. Miranda will get her share, of course. I looked at him. Her share being what, exactly? He leaned back like he was explaining something to a child. About 10 million, based on the last draft he showed me years ago. We'll handle the rest. You've got your own life, right? You can build something for yourself. There it was. The family motto. Take everything, give nothing, justify it with a smile. Grandma stayed quiet through all of it, watching like a referee who'd already decided who was getting thrown out of the game. Miranda leaned forward, smug. You shouldn't even be here, Eli. You made your choice when you ran off. Grandpa was disappointed, you know. Funny, I said. I heard he spent his last days calling a fake number trying to reach me. Who gave him that number again? The silence that followed was sharp. Mom's smile cracked first. Eli, you're being dramatic. No, I said, cutting her off. You're being predictable. Dad cleared his throat. Let's stay civil. The lawyer will sort everything out once he arrives. Oh, I'm sure he will, Grandma said suddenly, her voice slicing through the tension. Everyone turned to look at her. She stood up slowly, her back straight despite her age. Mr. Reeves will be here soon. You'll all be here too. Miranda frowned. Why? The will's already straightforward. Grandma smiled for the first time all day. We'll see about that. They looked confused, but I caught the look in her eyes. The same one Grandpa used to get right before proving everyone wrong. Miranda stood up, annoyed. We didn't drive all the way here to be insulted. Then leave, Grandma said calmly. But if you do, don't come back. That shut her up fast. Dad stood, adjusting his shirt like he still had control of the room. We're here. We just want this settled. Good, Grandma said. It's time the truth got settled too. They stepped outside to cool off, and Miranda shot me one last glare. Don't think showing up changes anything, she snapped. Wouldn't dream of it, I said. You're doing a great job ruining things without me. Grandma exhaled slowly and looked at me. You handled that well. I've had practice, I said. She sat back down, suddenly looking tired again. They think today is about money, she murmured. It's about exposure, I whispered. She gave a small nod. Your grandfather would be proud of you. I stood by the window, watching their car disappear down the road. The ranch felt quiet again, but this time it wasn't the lonely kind. It was the kind that comes before a storm. Today, I said quietly, we finish this. A knock came at the door. Grandma didn't flinch. She just gave me a look that said, it's time. I opened it to find a man in a dark suit holding a briefcase. Mr. Reeves, the family lawyer. He'd handled Grandpa's affairs for decades, the kind of man who didn't waste words or time. Inside, the living room was already set up. My parents sat together on the couch, Miranda scrolling through her phone, pretending she wasn't dying to know what she'd just inherited. Mom wore her usual fake concern face. Dad had that calm, confident look he always wore before a business win. "Good afternoon," Mr. Reeves said. "Thank you for coming. Let's get started." He opened the briefcase, pulled out a thick folder, and placed it on the table. The sound of the latch clicking shut echoed through the room like a warning. "As stated in the last will and testament of George Dawson," he began. His voice was steady, official, the kind of tone that doesn't bend under pressure. "To my beloved wife Darla Dawson, I leave our family home and a lifetime financial provision for her comfort and care." Grandma gave a small nod. She already knew that part. Mr. Reeves continued. "To my granddaughter Miranda Dawson, I leave—" Miranda leaned forward, smiling, practically vibrating in her seat. "The Pine Hollow cabin, as further detailed in my accompanying letter, executed alongside this will and incorporated by reference as part of it." Her smile faltered a little, but she didn't catch on yet. "And to my grandson, Eli Dawson." All eyes turned toward me. "I leave the George Dawson Innovation Center, including all equipment, property, intellectual rights, and any ongoing projects funded under my sponsorship." The air thickened. Miranda's eyebrows furrowed. Mom blinked. Dad's jaw clenched slightly, but he kept his corporate poker face. Mr. Reeves then pulled out a sealed envelope from the folder. Yellowed edges, Grandpa's handwriting on the front, to be read after the will. He explained that the letter had been signed and witnessed on the same day as the will, making it a formal codicil. This, he said, was left under strict instruction to be read aloud to everyone present. He opened it carefully, unfolding the paper. The silence was so sharp I could hear the wind against the windows. "To my family, if you're hearing this, it means I'm gone, and there are things I need to say that I couldn't while I was alive." Mom shifted uncomfortably. Miranda rolled her eyes, like this was an inconvenience. "I know about the lies. The phone number. The stories about care homes and shame. All of it. I know Eli tried to reach me. I know who stopped him." That's when Mom's face drained of color. "You thought I'd die not knowing, but I'm not as easy to fool as you believed. I spent my life teaching honesty and hard work, and I will not let greed erase that. So, I rewrote my will." Mr. Reeves looked up briefly, then continued reading. "The remainder of my estate, excluding Darla's home and the Pine Hollow cabin, now belongs to Eli Dawson. He's the only one who understands what it means to build something from the ground up. Let him carry it forward." Miranda's voice cracked. "What? That can't be real. As for the rest of you, Darla aside, Miranda receives the cabin at Pine Hollow. It's small, it's old, but it's honest. Consider it a reminder of what greed costs." When the letter ended, the silence that followed felt almost violent. Then Miranda exploded. "This is insane! He wouldn't do that! You," she pointed at me, "you manipulated him somehow." I didn't move. "Yeah, I must have done that while living 3 states away." Mom slammed her hand on the table. "Eli, stop it! You've already turned this family against each other. Is this what you wanted? To embarrass us?" I met her stare. "You embarrassed yourselves. All I did was show up." Dad tried stepping in, his voice low and steady. "Let's be adults here. We can settle this reasonably. Split the assets fairly. You don't need everything, Eli. Be smart about it." I leaned back, arms crossed. Being smart would have meant not forging phone numbers and lying to your dying father. "I'm just cleaning up the mess." Grandma finally stood. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. "Enough." Everyone froze. "I sat here and listened to you twist the truth for years," she said. "George saw through it in the end, and now I do too. You lied to me. You lied to him, and you used Miranda as your tool." Miranda's face turned red. "Grandma, you don't understand." "I understand perfectly," Grandma cut in. "You've mistaken manipulation for love. I only regret George left you anything at all." Mom's lips trembled, but anger beat out guilt. "You can't talk to us like that." "I can," Grandma said firmly, "and I will. You're not welcome in this house. Not today, not ever. And don't expect to see a penny from my will either." That did it. Mom's fake dignity shattered. She stood up, muttering something about legal action. Dad followed, trying to keep what little pride he had left. Miranda stormed out last, heels clacking against the floor like gunshots. The door slammed. The sound lingered, then faded into quiet. Grandma sat back down, breathing heavily. "Well," she said finally, "that's done." I exhaled for what felt like the first time all day. You okay? She nodded. Better than I've been in years. Outside, I watched their car disappear down the road again, just like before. Only this time it didn't hurt. For the first time in my life, their exit meant peace. It lasted about 4 days. Then Mr. Reeves called. His voice was steady but carried that cautious tone lawyers use when they're about to drop bad news. Eli, he said, your parents filed a legal challenge. They're contesting the will. I expected it. What I didn't expect was the angle. They're claiming your grandfather wasn't mentally fit when he signed it. They submitted medical documents. Diagnoses of schizophrenia, dementia, cognitive decline, all dated 6 months before his passing. My grip tightened on the phone. That's impossible. He was sharp as ever. According to Grandma, he was still testing solar prototypes in his workshop last year. I know, Reeves said, but the documents look convincing. We'll need to prove they're fake. The peace I'd earned vanished. That night, Grandma and I sat at the dining table with stacks of papers spread between us. The stress had settled on her shoulders like weight she'd carried before. They'll destroy themselves doing this, she said quietly. They already have, I replied. Now they're just trying to drag us down too. The next day, Grandma decided to call them. To reason, she said. I wasn't optimistic. I sat beside her as she dialed Dad's number on speaker. Hello? His tone was clipped, like this was business. Richard, Grandma said, I saw what you filed. This is low, even for you. Mother, he said smoothly, we're just protecting the family legacy. George wasn't thinking clearly as last year. You said yourself your memory's been slipping too. We can't rely on that will. Grandma froze. What did you just say? You forget things, Mom's voice chimed in. She must have been on speaker too. You told me once you couldn't even find your reading glasses for 2 days. We're not attacking you. We're worried. That's not memory loss, Grandma said, shaking. That's life. Dad sighed dramatically. We're trying to do this peacefully. You and Eli can avoid the embarrassment if you just agree to divide things fairly. I cut in. You mean give it all back to Miranda? Dad didn't miss a beat. You're overreacting. Grandma ended the call without another word. Her hands trembled slightly as she lowered the phone. They're trying to make me doubt myself, she whispered. They've been doing that for years, I said. This time we don't let them win. The following morning, Reeves came over with copies of the forged reports. They looked official. Stamped, signed, even included a fake neurologist's signature. If I hadn't known better, I'd have believed them. They went all in, Reeves said, setting the folder on the table. Fake hospital letterheads, doctor's notes, everything. If we can't disprove it, this could delay the estate transfer for months. Or cost us everything, I muttered. That night I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I grabbed a flashlight and went to Grandpa's office. The workshop smelled the same. Wood polish, oil, dust, and old papers. His desk was still organized the way he liked it. Blueprints stacked on the left. Mechanical pencils lined perfectly on the right. I started opening drawers. Receipts, patents, notebooks full of designs. Nothing medical. Then I noticed the locked filing cabinet under the workbench. The key still hung on a nail by the window. Classic Grandpa. Inside were folders labeled by year. I pulled the one marked 2024 and started flipping through it. Halfway through, I found it. A sealed envelope with a hospital logo and Grandpa's name. When I opened it, I froze. Inside were the original medical records. Real ones. Signed by Dr. Carlson, the same doctor who'd treated Grandpa for years. The papers included cognitive test results dated just 2 months before he died. Every line read, patient alert, mentally sound, no cognitive impairment. I let out a laugh, half relief, half disbelief. You beautiful old man, I whispered. Grandpa had kept everything. The next morning, I scanned every page and made 5 backup copies. Cloud, flash drive, physical prints. I wasn't taking chances. When I showed them to Reeves, his reaction said everything. This is gold. The hospital stamp, the signature, it's all verifiable. Good, I said, because they're not going to stop. Grandma looked stronger again. George used to say, paper beats talk every time. Looks like he was right. Yeah, I said. And this time, we're going to make them eat their own paperwork. 2 days later, Reeves filed a counterclaim attaching the real records. Within hours, the court requested verification from the hospital. The confirmation came back fast. The reports my parents filed were fabricated, the signatures digitally altered. Reeves smiled when he called me. They're cornered now. Once the fraud report's filed, it's over. Good, I said. Let them finally face the mirror they built. I looked over at Grandma, sitting in Grandpa's old recliner, sunlight hitting the window behind her. For weeks, I'd seen her burdened with doubt. Now she looked steady again. They almost got me, she said softly. Almost doesn't count, I said. They underestimated you? And Grandpa. She gave a small, proud smile. And you. That night, I put the original documents back into the same cabinet, locked it, and hung the key where Grandpa used to keep it. For the first time, I understood why he'd saved everything. He didn't trust talk, he trusted proof. And now, so did I. By the end of the week, Mr. Reeves filed a full civil suit against my parents for fraud and document forgery. He didn't sugarcoat it. We're not settling quietly this time, he said. They crossed a line that can't be talked away. The court moved faster than I expected. The evidence was too solid to ignore. Grandpa's original medical files, digital timestamps, and the fake reports my parents had submitted. The hospital confirmed immediately that the documents they used weren't just altered. They were fabricated entirely. Even the supposed doctor's signature belonged to someone who'd retired 5 years before the dates shown. When the notice reached them, Mom and Dad showed up at court looking like ghosts of their old selves. Gone were the expensive clothes, the smug confidence. Even Miranda, usually dressed like she was walking a red carpet, showed up in plain jeans and a coat that didn't fit right. The judge didn't waste time. He read through the evidence, looked at their attorney, and asked one question. Do your clients deny falsifying medical documents? Their lawyer hesitated. Mom tried to interrupt, saying something about miscommunication, but the judge shut her down fast. This isn't a family argument. This is forgery. After a short hearing, the judge said he'd issue a written ruling the same day. By that afternoon, the order came down. The forged reports were declared fraudulent, and the challenge to Grandpa's will was dismissed permanently. The judge ordered them to cover all court costs and legal fees, imposed sanctions for filing false documents, and referred the forgery to the county prosecutor for review. Outside the courthouse, Miranda burst into tears. Dad stood beside her, staring at the pavement. Mom tried to look composed, but her voice shook when she turned to me. You didn't have to humiliate us like this, she said quietly. I kept my tone calm. You humiliated yourselves. I just made sure people saw it. Dad finally looked up, eyes tired and sunken. We were desperate, he muttered. I lost everything, Eli. Investments, savings, gone. The inheritance was all we had left. I just needed time. I didn't feel anger anymore, just disgust. So you destroyed Grandpa's name for money? You made him die thinking I abandoned him. You made Grandma question her sanity. And you want sympathy? He didn't respond. Mom tried to reach out, touching my arm, but I stepped back. You made me the villain in Grandpa's story, I said. Now live with it. They left in silence. Miranda didn't even look at me. The news spread faster than any of us expected. Court filings are public, and local reporters love stories about family wealth gone wrong. Within days, headlines popped up online. Couple caught forging medical records in estate battle. Local family accused of lying to inherit engineer's legacy. Their reputation, once spotless, shattered overnight. Dad lost his consulting clients. Mom's charity board dropped her name from their website. Miranda, who ran a small event planning business, started losing sponsors and customers. Nobody wanted to work with people branded as scammers. For Grandma, it was closure. She attended the final hearing with her head held high, wearing Grandpa's old watch. When the judge read the ruling, she didn't say a word, just nodded and held my hand. Afterward, we met with Mr. Reeves to finalize the transfer of assets. He handed me a folder. The Innovation Center's officially yours now, he said. Everything George built, patents, land, research rights, all under your name. It didn't feel like victory, it felt like responsibility. Over the next few months, I threw myself into rebuilding the George Dawson Innovation Center. The place was full of potential, but had been sitting mostly dormant since Grandpa's health declined. I hired a small team, engineers, students, and a few local farmers who'd known Grandpa for years. We started restoring his old designs, updating the solar irrigation system, and automating the water recycling units. Every blueprint I touched reminded me of his voice. Engineering with dirt, Eli. That's all it is. Grandma would visit once a week, watching us work from the shaded porch while sipping tea. He'd be proud of this, she'd say every time, like it was a fact, not a comfort. By spring, the Innovation Center had partnered with 2 agricultural universities for research grants. It wasn't just a workshop anymore. It was alive again. Meanwhile, my parents disappeared from the local radar. The house they owned went up for sale. Word around town was that they'd moved into a small apartment outside the city. Miranda tried to reinvent herself online, posting motivational quotes about family forgiveness and moving on, but nobody bought it. Grandma didn't hide her stance. During a local interview about the center reopening, A reporter asked her if she planned to reconcile with the family. She looked directly into the camera and said, "No, some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt." 6 months later, I moved Grandma into a new home near the Innovation Center, a quiet, bright place with big windows overlooking the hills. Her old house was too full of memories, both good and bad. She decided to sell the old ranch house, saying it was time to let go of walls that had heard too many lies. She smiled when she walked through the door. "Feels lighter here," she said. "Yeah," I replied. "No ghosts allowed." For the first time, everything felt right. No phone calls, no lies, no wait from people pretending to love us, only when it benefited them. That night, as the sun went down, I walked outside the center. The workshop lights glowed warm through the windows, humming machines inside building what Grandpa had started. Legacy wasn't about money. It wasn't about inheritance or revenge or even winning. It was about what survived the lies. And standing there, I realized something simple. I didn't just inherit what Grandpa built. I inherited why he built it. 2 months of silence. That's how long it took before they tried something new. I was at the Innovation Center when a coworker showed me a post on Facebook. It was my mom's face. Same practiced smile, same concerned tone she used when lying through her teeth. The caption read, "Our son took everything from us. Please help us protect Grandma Darla from manipulation and neglect." Attached was a GoFundMe link. The description said the money would go toward Grandma's care, but the payout account was under my dad's name. They even used old photos of Grandma from before Grandpa passed, making her look frail and confused. Within a few hours, people started sharing it. Comments poured in from distant relatives, church friends, and old neighbors. "How awful," one said. "Can't believe Eli would do that." I didn't reply. I knew better. Arguing with liars online only feeds them. But Grandma saw it that night. She was scrolling on her tablet in her room when I heard her mutter, "You've got to be kidding me." She called me in, showed me the page, and said, "They've really lost it." She stared at the screen for a long time, her jaw tight. "They think I'm some prop for their pity show," she said finally. Then she set her tea down. "All right, they want attention. Let's give them some." The next morning, Grandma asked me to set up her phone on a small tripod. No script, no fancy lighting, just her sitting on the porch with the wind in her hair. She took a deep breath, looked straight into the camera, and said, "My name is Darla Dawson. I'm not sick, I'm not confused, and I'm certainly not being manipulated. My son and his wife have lied to you. The GoFundMe they posted isn't for my care, it's for their greed." She didn't raise her voice once. Calm, steady, almost surgical. "They forged my husband's medical records. They tried to take what wasn't theirs. Now they're begging strangers for sympathy. If you donated, ask for a refund. Don't let scammers profit from family lies." She ended with one line that hit harder than anything else. "My grandson didn't take our money. He earned our trust. That's something my son never managed." She looked at me after hitting upload. That should do it. Within hours, it exploded. Her video spread through local groups faster than their GoFundMe ever did. People commented things like, "This is the real Grandma," and "Can't believe they lied about her." By that evening, donations to the GoFundMe dropped to zero. The comment section turned into a battlefield. Dozens demanded refunds, tagging GoFundMe's fraud department. A local reporter even picked up the story. Elderly woman exposes family's fake fundraiser in viral video. By the next morning, the campaign was shut down permanently. The family's page vanished, but screenshots stayed everywhere. Miranda tried damage control by posting a clarification that Grandma was being influenced by outsiders, but that only made things worse. Someone leaked a clip of her yelling at a donor in public, screaming that this was supposed to fix everything. It went viral on TikTok. When the dust settled, Grandma sat back on the porch, watching the sunset. "You didn't even have to say a word," she said, sipping her tea. "They handled their own downfall." I smiled. "You're getting good at this." She chuckled softly. "Maybe a little late in life, but better late than never." For the first time, the silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was peaceful. A week later, I walked through the lab, now buzzing with new interns and fresh projects. The Innovation Center was thriving, funded by people who actually believed in something real. Miranda and my parents kept the Pine Hollow cabin. Small, honest, and exactly the reminder Grandpa wanted them to have. On my desk sat Grandpa's old pocket watch, its silver case reflecting the morning light. I could almost hear him say, "See, Eli, engineering with dirt and patience." I didn't win by arguing or yelling. I won by staying calm and letting truth do its work. And this time, the world saw it too. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.